Welcome back, Chain Breakers, for another episode of Talking Taboo. I'm your host, Trista, and today I have with me my co pilots, Hasna, Deanna, Cornisha, and Psyched Perspective. Are y'all ready for this episode today on absent and toxic fathers?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. And I hope that those of you watching are ready as well. Now, we did do an episode last week on dysfunctional families. And for those of you that may not have had the chance to tune in, you're still able to tune in by going to our Facebook and YouTube channels to catch the replay. But for those of you that may want to see just a little snippet of it right now, look at that. How many of you would say that you came from a dysfunctional family? What type of environment would you say you identify with the most from your upbringing?
All of them. Every single one of them.
And the thing is, it's multiple different family members. It isn't just
Right.
one. It's like everybody participates.
Yeah, we can't even narrow that down.
You always hear your parents say, "Oh, at 18, you getting out and
You
doing
grown. How?
If you
I don't
haven't-
know nothing.
If you haven't prepared me for life at 18,
Yep.
how do I go out here and survive if you haven't prepared me from this time to this time?"
You got parents that are jealous of their children,
Yeah.
you know, and then you got parents putting the siblings against each other.
I don't think people talk enough about the emotional and mental side of abuse. So many people believe because my parents didn't hit me or, leave scars that I wasn't abused. My childhood was fine. But what I think a lot of us have been is emotionally and mentally abused.
You're supposed to do what they want you to do, but really, they don't ever tell you what they want anyways. You just supposed to know.
Because they don't know what they want. Or that saying of the "what happens in my home stays in my home." That was like, I felt like hearing that as a child and now being an adult, I'm like, that was the craziest thing ever, because a lot of the trauma was happening in the home, but you would be afraid to go out and say anything because you're being told what happens here stays here.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So who's protecting you from everything that's taking place in that home?
Mm-hmm.
Like he says, nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody, baby.
Nobody.
Really blew my mind that some of the things that I didn't realize that I did do. And when it was brought to my attention, what I did was embraced it. It was hard, but I embraced it. I apologized to my children.
For a lot of people, being verbally assaulted, cursed out, talked down to,
Okay.
normalized, but that is actually abuse. And you wonder why so many people are dealing with self-esteem issues, confidence issues, and all of the above in these toxic relationships.
I'm like, okay, are these stereotypes or are these truths that people want to continue to be in denial about? People don't just say that you have deadbeat dads just to say you have deadbeat dads.
Who exactly are you protecting? All right. How did y'all feel about that episode?
That was a nice recap.
It was a wonderful episode. Wonderful. I just love being up here with y'all.
All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into our conversation piece for today on absent and toxic fathers, y'all. What were your relationship like with your fathers? Hassan, I'm going to start with you.
Well, so so growing up, my relationship with my father was a little weird. I grew up with the thoughts of one person being my father, and then turned out he wasn't. And then was introduced to my biological father at the age of like 8 or 9 years old. But as time went on, he was there and then he wasn't. He was like in and out. At the time, I didn't understand what was going on. So I won't say it affected me at that moment, but it was as I got older. I had, my mom was married when I was about, 9, 10 years old. So that man stood up when he stood in. And he was an amazing father, God rest his soul. But I just recently, like maybe a couple years ago, start having a better relationship with my father
That's good.
because I wanted to understand him
Mhm.
and where he is in life and where he couldn't be at a point in time when I needed him.
Mhm.
So it was more so of me meeting him where he is in his life, even though he's the adult and he's the father. But sometimes, you just have to step up and step out depending on how bad you want it. So I didn't have like a really close relationship with him, but now my relationship as an adult is so much better with
Much
him.
better. That's good. That's good. What's your story, Nisha?
Okay, well, my real dad was not very active.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up, he used to get us at one point like every other weekend. But I remember sometimes we'll have our bags packed and we're waiting around, sitting outside waiting on him to come, and he wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
So then it's like we're mad at my mom, even though she don't got nothing to do with why this man didn't come pick us up. We just got this anger, and she's the next person that has to deal with it because he didn't do what he told us he was going to do.
Yeah.
So on top of that, she was dating another guy, my sister's dad, and like I actually got molested by that man.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, my experiences and stuff with men weren't the best ones. So I think from 9 to 13, I went through that stuff at home
Yeah.
with, I wouldn't even call it a stepfather because they weren't married, but with my sister's dad. So I don't know. I can't tell you what a father's supposed to do, what that relationship's supposed to be like, because I didn't have it.
Right. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, Nisha.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Sai?
My biological father was pretty much non-existent, so wasn't around, had no relationship with the person,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there for me, when I was born, wasn't there growing up, just wasn't there. So my grandfather, and my grandfather on my mother's side, and my grandmother on my mother's side, and my uncle, they were there supporting my mother and helped raise me because he was non-existent.
Okay. Okay. Well, my story, and I know I touched on this a little bit last show, but my father was basically absent. He was absent by choice. I knew who he was. He actually stayed in the state where a lot of my other family members live, and we would visit this state at least probably once a year, if not more. And we would often run into him. The town wasn't about so big, or the city wasn't about so big, and my cousins and my family members, they knew where he would be most of the time. If I did want to go see him or whatever. But in that situation, it wasn't on my mom. Like, he had the opportunity to be there if he wanted to be there, but for some reason, he chose not to be there. I remember there were times where we would be right at my aunt's house and we would run into him, and my mom would let him know where we'll be, if he wanted to come by later to get me, see me. And he there may have been like maybe twice that he actually came by or something, or came by to take me to his family member's house to show me off in a sense. But then there was several other times where he didn't even show up. And as a younger child, I was sitting there waiting for him, but he didn't come by. So to me, it came across like he did things when it was more convenient for him, but in actuality, he wasn't there. There wasn't any type of support as far as financial support or anything. So but what I can say, I think not having him in my life was more beneficial than having him in the state that he's in. You see what I'm saying? A lot of times I think that having no father is better than having a, excuse my language,
Toxic father.
right, or a shitty, inconsistent father. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I looked at it like it was a blessing because having him there, there's no telling what kind of damage could have been done. You know, so sometimes I think we can look at it as a positive. So, what type of, how do I want to say this? What do you think you missed out on from not having that father in your life, that consistent father that you needed? What do you think you missed out on in life?
We taking turns?
Yeah, whoever want to go first, go ahead, Nisha. I'm gonna let you go.
I think in my case, being I had so much going on, I think it was really I miss having like an example of what a man should be, you know, how a man should treat you, but you know, like no type of model for anything. So I like went through all type of crazy relationships. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I never seen it. So I don't know really what I'm supposed to be expecting or tolerating or not tolerating or anything like that. So I just feel like I just didn't have no example. Because ultimately your parents are going to be your first like role models. So if you don't get that, then it's like you just out here just wandering and searching for something and you don't even know what you're looking for. You know? So that was what I feel like my experience of not having an active father was.
Now, before I move on to you, Hasna, what do you all think about the saying that we hear a lot of times where people say, oh, well, you can't blame your parents for the relationships that you chose? What do you think about that statement? Go. Like, I foresee you have something you need to say.
I just feel like, okay, I'm knocking at 30, so I'm taking an accountability because it is true. I can't keep saying, you know, because my dad wasn't around, my mom wasn't as active as I needed them to be. I can't keep blaming them, but then at the same time, I can't help but, as I'm going through therapy and counseling, realize that my very early beginning concept of relationships was dysfunctional. And it's like, I mean, I didn't have, you know, two parents, loving, committed. Both were unavailable for various reasons. So it's like, that's my early connection with any type of human connection. And it's like, if you don't, people, you know, we always talk about nature versus nurture. I believe both play a huge role.
Yeah.
So to me, a lot of that inconsistency with one, you have one parent that's completely absent, and then you have another parent that is in and out for their very own reasons, and it just causes, you know, you're unstable, and it's just like the abandonment issues and things that I'm currently healing and working on at nearly 30, where I didn't have to go through all of this in the first place because you didn't have to have me. You know, I mean, that's just how I feel. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I'm the type, I blame parents. I blame parents because they are responsible for what you receive and what you don't receive. Because at the end of the day, had you been in a different environment with loving parents, I'm sure you would have turned out differently. And the choices that you would have made would have followed. Yeah, it would have reflected the parenting that you received. So I believe everything starts with parenting. Like you were saying, but relationships that we have with others, it starts with the relationship that we have with our parents. Even the relationship we have with ourselves starts with that relationship. Go ahead, Nisha, you were saying something?
Right. So what I'm wondering is, because I feel like, you know, the older generations of parents, they basically had the same type, you know, what goes on in my house stays in my house. You know, they beating you all the time, and oh, stop crying and give you something to cry for. But like across the board, they were all had that same mentality. So then I can't help but wonder, you know, is that just how they were conditioned? They weren't raised or conditioned to be good parents to us.
Yeah.
And at some point, somebody has to come along that's like, you know, this is not right. You know, this is not how I should have been treated. This is not how I would want my kid to be treated. And at some point, you got to stop and change that mentality, because I think that's just all across the board. That's just how parents were. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
How would you say that not having a father, that consistent father you needed in your life, Hasna, affected you?
Even though I had my stepfather, my heart still yearned for my father.
Yeah.
You know, my stepfather was amazing. I mean, he was very good to my mother. He held down the home and things like that, but it wasn't enough for me because I wanted that connection with my father. So for me, I was angry for a very long time because I just didn't understand. You know, at a point in time, my father came looking for me. Like when he just felt as though people was like saying that I look like him and stuff like that, he came searching for me. So my thing was, you came searching for me, but why weren't you consistent?
Yeah.
So what was the point of the search if you weren't going to do what needed to be done when you found me or when you found out that I was your daughter? So for many years, like I was like well, for many who don't know, I was actually married to Trista's cousin. And I was with him for like a total of 12 years. And children came, you know, from that and everything. And it was a toxic relationship, you know? And I felt like I was in that marriage and in that relationship for so long is because I was used to my biological father coming in and out. So whenever I would go through things in my relationship, I would keep forgiving and I would let him back.
Yes.
Because that's what I was doing with my father.
Yeah.
It was I'm sorry that got me every time. I'm trying my best, you know, and you begin, you know, you want to believe that. But then there comes a point in time where it's like, you know what? Well, you're trying your best isn't good enough at this moment, because if this is your best, this is shitty.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's like I tried.
Yeah, I couldn't.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I tell my son, because like, you know, my son is 8. And say he does something and then he wants to apologize. Mom, I'm sorry. No, because if you got to keep apologizing about the same stuff, you're not sorry. Don't even tell me you're sorry, because that's just manipulation. You don't change your behavior.
At this point, it's a choice.
Yeah.
Right? This is no
exactly. You don't change the behavior. There's no sorry to it.
It's a choice. So, you know, it was a lot. It was really a lot. I feel like, you know, some people be like, well, you had a stepdad. Well, yeah, but that wasn't my dad.
Yeah, it's not
no matter what. My stepdad did it all, like held it down. But it wasn't enough because I wanted that from my father.
Yeah. And I think that there's this innate desire for children to want their biological parents. You know, I've heard stories where people were adopted into wonderful homes, but there was just something, especially when
it's a disconnect.
Right. They just knew something was off and they longed for that connection with their biological parent. And I even think that's why a lot of children who are like abused by their parents, abandoned by their parents, but more so, you know, in the abuse aspect, to where it seems to me as if they cannot let go. You know, it's more like a trauma bond occurred.
Yeah.
Like, I was saying last week, you know, I walked away. Now, it wasn't easy, and it wasn't just, you know, oh, well, let me walk away. You know, I think we give our parents opportunities and chances after chances more than we would give the average person before we even step away. Right. Like your parents can kill you and revive you, and you're still going to want that relationship back with them.
You'll try to have a relationship.
Yeah. Right. So for me, me personally, I don't think it's love. I don't think it's love. I think it's more of a trauma bond and just how we're wired to where we just want that. And then like what you were saying, Hasna, what trauma bonds actually do is when you're so conditioned to that push-pull, that hot cold, you become conditioned to tolerate that. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happened, I believe, with abusive parents. That's not love. Your parents abusing you is not them loving you. I'm sorry. For those people that think it's love, that is not love. Your parents abusing you. For me, I don't even think a lot of parents know what love is. You see what I'm saying? You can
And
feel love. You know,
Because it's always conditional. You control it.
they do. The average person do not know love, especially if you're from these toxic families. So for me, I don't think it's that, oh, I just love my parents so much. When you don't even know them, they didn't kill you 50 times, but you love them. Like, that makes no sense. It's a trauma bond, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a trauma
Because, and for like, when I think about the absent father or just the absent parent in general, or the inconsistent parent, you know, when you see all the other, like for me growing up, I would see all the other kids, you know, their moms and dads taking them to school, or if the parents were separated, it was, well, I'm going to go see my dad this weekend. We're going camping and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm just sitting here like, well, you know, I don't even know who my dad is. And it's just like the fact that that's normalized in our community, like, and the fact that people can just jump, well, that's why you don't know your daddy. And it's like, well, most
Right.
Well, you probably don't either.
Exactly. Like, what? But then the fact that, again, people are not held accountable for being deadbeats. People are not being held accountable for being, you know, inconsistent as a parent. This whole, well, he's, like somebody said on Twitter, you will never hear somebody say she's an active mother. And I was like, that's right, because why are we giving praise to men for doing what they're supposed to do? It's your child. You're the one that decided to have it.
And I think,
so, like,
I want to say that the praise is coming from, because we witness it so much of people not doing what they're supposed to do, that we feel like we have to praise the ones that are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, people want this pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do towards somebody you gave birth to.
Exactly.
You hear people say, I had my kids all day. Well, who else supposed to have them?
Exactly. They your kids.
They're yours. Now, granted,
no.
Don't get me wrong.
Hold on.
People need a break.
Honey, when this pandemic started, you know, people was losing their minds having to have their kids
all
at
day,
home
every day. Now listen, don't get it twisted. As human beings, we need breaks. We need that time for yourself. But the fact that people were online saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe school is closing," and that's so it's like, if you don't want to be with your own children at this point, it's a problem.
Them teachers don't want to either.
Right.
It's a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Teachers don't want to be with their kids either.
So everybody is accustomed to giving birth to something and shipping them to somebody else.
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it makes them feel like they're inconvenienced, and it's crazy. Go ahead, Nisha.
Now, I don't know, because this is about the fathers today. So when we get to these mothers, I'm be on it. I'm gonna go in next week.
Speaking of, go ahead.
I don't know. You were talking about being inconvenient, like having children and like be feeling inconvenient. I just feel like it's not fair for a man, because mostly that's who does it, to make a child.
Yeah. And
you get to carry on your life like it's all good, and then you just leave the mother basically to figure out how can she work. You can't even get sick as a single mother, you know, because the bills still got to get paid, the kids still got to eat, you still got to do everything. You can't skip a beat. But you know, the father can go out here, get in another relationship, make more babies, and just like, how is that fair? Like, why is that something that's not stressed more with these? Even as a little boy, like, y'all need to stress the fact that it shouldn't be on one person to take care of two people's responsibility.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And that's actually something that I want to talk about, the double standards that we have. But I personally believe, because of course we live in a patriarchal society, you know, to where we are, as men and women, we're conditioned to uphold the man in all things, you know. And I think that that has a lot to do with why we see, men are able to leave their children for 50 years, come back when it's convenient for them, and still be
when
expected
it's
to have a
convenient.
place in their life. The mother is called bitter when she has a problem with it. You see, it's all of this stuff is done to, again, uphold the man. But then when we look at the lack of accountability, to me, is this patriarchy, misogynistic stuff, is it really helping men? To me, it's hurting them more than it's helping them. You know what I mean? Like, how is it helping them?
Well, I think
it's not.
Go ahead, Ty.
It's feel like we're
go
creating monsters. We're creating monsters because for me, a lot of these men today, like, I'm at the point, you guys, to where I'm totally fine if I remain single for the rest of my life. I'm okay with that. I'm content with that because the quality of men that are being produced nowadays, y'all, it's horrible.
And the fact that you feel as though you're okay.
I'm okay with it.
With being single for the rest of your life, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah, in society, that's a problem because as a woman, you should want a man,
Exactly. But the way I'm looking at it right now is for as ladies or little girls, our dream is usually to get married, have children, and just enjoy, life with your family. Right. You know what I mean?
Honey, that's not, no.
It's to the point where now you don't even want to think of none of that because everything is so scary. And it's like,
that was scary.
I in my opinion, we don't have a lot of stand-up men anymore. It's because they're being raised by a single mother. There's no father or figure in the picture to teach them how to be that man.
Right.
Or you have fathers who are there, but they are so in tune to other things that they're not taking that time. So you have those present yet absent fathers, and then you have those absent and toxic fathers.
Right.
Or you have those present, absent, toxic fathers. You know what I mean? So it's like, and or you may have the women who want to be mom and dad, even though there's a stand-up guy in the home. Because let's not get it twisted. There's some good men out here now who are stand-up fathers, but then you have the people who want to play both roles and won't let that man stand in and do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
So now you're making it hard for this man to raise this young man because you want to put your hands in everything and say, oh, don't hurt my boy, or that's mommy's baby. That's why these men keep who is holding them responsible, because the mothers aren't. Every time your son does something, you're covering his bull crap, and then he's running back home every time something jumps off. It's like, I don't have to be responsible.
It's so much we can talk about. I feel like this may need like a week of shows. I feel like it's so much we need to dive into.
Extras.
Yes.
Hold up, but I wanna go back to the whole thing that you were talking about as far as, as little girls, we dream of getting married, this, and this. Cause honey, I'm grown now. And if a man ain't about to help cook, clean, take care of my son. Look, if you're not about to help me out, I'm not about to sit here and take no extra responsibility. I got enough on my plate. If you're not about to lighten the load, I don't care about no ring. I don't care about no tie. I don't care about none of that stuff. If you're not trying to take some pressure off of me, because I mean, some females, like you said, want to be a single woman, independent. I don't want to be independent. If you could take some of this pressure off me, then yes. If not, I don't want nothing to do with it.
And that was my thing. Like, I knew for me, when I got married, because after I got divorced, I was like, listen, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't know what I'm about to do, but I know that I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I want to play my part as a woman. I don't want to have to play my part and your part. Yeah. And then you wonder why, like, women are not really respecting the men anymore, because there's too many times where you got to play your part and the man's part. Yeah. Like, I want that. Well, I'm married now and things are good, but still, like, I knew in my next relationship, I was looking for somebody that was going to, if you beat me home, you the one cooking. And I'm walking into the house smelling good. Or if you washing dishes, I'm in the bathroom cleaning it. Like, You get what I'm saying? But
yes. For me, it's like, unfortunately, for a lot of men and masculine people, it just seems like no one is teaching how to be a partner, be a partnership, how to not be selfish and self-centered 24/7. Like, there's no thought process of the other person. And it just seems like a lot of times with toxic masculinity, and then too, the type of people that's raising children today, it ain't to knock, I feel like it's not to knock single mothers, but then at the same time, it's like, God, where are these kids coming from? They're coming from these single parent households. Yeah. And it's not to say that you could be in a 2-parent household and still have a toxic person come out of that household. Mm-hmm. So, but it's like something has to be said when it comes to men, in particular, cisgendered heterosexual men, and their whole situation of being selfish and not really caring about their partners. And then, like, you want her to be in her femininity and be submissive, but then you don't want to take lead and provide and protect. Like, you can't sit up here and want traditional gender roles, but then you don't want to fulfill your part. Mm-hmm. That's my whole thing.
Yeah. I totally agree.
And you better hush your mouth.
Yeah, it all starts in the home. It all starts in the home, and unfortunately, until
you better hush your mouth, because you just went in right there, honey.
And I think until we can, it starts with the parenting. Until we can get parents who I think are intentionally creating children with the intent to give them what they need, it ain't gonna happen. We need people to start being intentional.
And I think some women may be mad at me for what I'm getting ready to say, but it's okay. But
y'all, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go.
All right, okay. We'll see you.
I'll see y'all next Sunday. I got y'all. All right.
Next Sunday. Have a good day. And a good week.
What's happening too?
Thank you.
Whether they want to stand in ownership or not, we're being selfish. And I'm going to say we, because I'm a woman. So I want to say it's moments where we're being selfish for that couple minutes of pleasure that it's already known that the man that you get ready to lay with is no good. Mm-hmm. So when you lay with him and you decide to sleep unprotectedly, when you already know he really ain't about anything, your chances of having a STD or a baby, whatever it is, it's chances that you take. Now, if a baby comes from this, you have invited this toxic person already in your space. So now a child has been formed, and now he's who he is. He was toxic from the jump. He was toxic when you laid down with him, and now a baby is coming from this, and now he's a toxic father. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't hold him responsible then for that moment of selfishness, because it feels so good, so you wanted to be selfish, and now you done created something bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and while I do agree with that, but you know what? I think we need to hold men more accountable as well. Of course, we all play a part in it.
Ejaculating and everything.
We have enough of people holding men accountable, and even with the whole, even with why men don't see their kids, it's the woman's fault somehow. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I'm going through that right now.
It's crazy. You got more add to it? Go ahead.
We going through something like that now. Me and my baby mom is what I call her, and we have our children, and it's like at this very point in our lives is because the man couldn't get his way. Mm-hmm. Now, like, he'll spread word as if we're just like these horrible mothers, and we're keeping him from his children, and nobody lets him see his children, and we done brainwashed the children. And I'm like, listen, now I feel like, because you hear a lot of men complain about being on child support and stuff like that. That's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have room, or we have room right now to say, you know what, we're going to put this man on child support because he's not doing what he's supposed to do as a father. Forget what he was supposed to do in a relationship, but you are a father. So you're not contributing anything to these children. but you go out and you have more children.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll play the super dad over there. Meanwhile, you have a 14-year-old and what a 10-year-old that is on the other end, not receiving what they need to receive from their father.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go and say, you know what, you're going to help me take care of these kids. I shouldn't have to force you to take care of something that belongs to you. But the moment that I decide to make that move, then I'll be the bitter ex-wife, baby mom, or will be the bitter baby moms and stuff like that. No, these children are your responsibility.
Right.
And you're just out living freely. But all because you couldn't have your way.
Right.
You couldn't have your way. You call yourself punishing the children.
Right.
That's not fair.
You know what? This is me, y'all. I know we get tired of hearing these words, narcissistic and personality disorders, but something is going on in our world.
Yes.
Something is going on in our world. Now, when I was a little young, I may not have understood stuff, but you know when something's wrong. But y'all, something deeper is going on. This isn't just, it's just our condition and it's just this level of stuff that we're seeing, men not wanting to pay child support, men not caring if their child is
don't want to be responsible for anything.
All. Where is the empathy? Empathy is tied to love.
And my thing is, for me,
what would you do to anybody else? Like, my heart breaks for humanity. I'm so afraid of the world we're living in now. I'm so afraid, because if you can do that to your own child, my God.
And you know,
that's just it. You don't care. Yeah. And what gets me is you will always see, again, cisgendered men constantly talking about how, they're against abortion. In the meantime, you abort your child every day. So many cis men go out here and ejaculate in everybody and everything, creating unwanted children and then disappearing and acting like that child doesn't exist, knowing that you ejaculated in that person. And then that's just unwanted children. Now think about the STDs and the STIs that's also being spread because this person is running around ejaculating in everybody.
Right.
There's no and this is why, for me, it starts at home with the type of relationships that we have. But for me, it's, in my opinion, it's also about having comprehensive sexual education. A lot of times when we talk about manhood, unfortunately, there's this assumption that it's just about having sex with everybody, and basically however many women, men, whoever you sleep with, whatever their gender or sexuality, you're just on a conquest 24/7. And that's the mindset that so many men and masculine people have. And that's sad, but that's the toxic masculinity. It's like they don't even value themselves. They don't care about themselves.
It's all self-hate at the end of the day. You're right. It's all self-hate. Now, what do you all think about mothers keeping their children away from inconsistent fathers? What's your thoughts on that? Not allowing them to see them when they're harmful or inconsistent to them.
Oh, my opinion is you're supposed to do what you need to do as a parent to protect your children from anybody. It doesn't matter the title. If I have to, now I'm not going to come right out and say, you know what? No, we're going to figure something out during the meantime. If you're coming around, you may not be left with them by themselves, maybe for the first couple times or something. And some people may feel like you're wrong for that. But if you're inconsistent and every time you come around, I have to deal with a heartbreak when you walk away, I have to weigh this thing out. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to talk. It's not our job as parents to talk bad about the other parent to the children. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people do. You'll get the baby moms, they want to talk bad about the father. Then you get the fathers who may get the children and now they want to bash the mom. Well, that shouldn't go on. So now when that father is coming around, you really have to you have to play your cards a certain way because you never want to keep a child from their father. But if they are toxic and it's the inconsistency, you have to do what's best for the children. You have to do what's best for the children because you're going to constantly be healing hearts. The hurt and pain, and you don't know what it's doing to the mental. You don't know. So you have to, I think overall for me, I'm just going to protect my children.
Yeah. I'm with that too. I'm with that. And I think when a lot of women try to do that, all the pressure and the shame that comes from the outside, because again, here we are in this patriarchal society to where we're going to offend men, enable men to be deadbeat dads. But she's dealing with all of this pressure from the outside as well. And that breeds additional shame onto you and make you feel as if what you're doing is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's difficult. I can just imagine. I mean, I don't have kids, but I can just imagine
it becomes very difficult. I think my baby mom is online now. She might be, but I can use myself as an example. We are constantly having talks with our daughters to see where their mental is, because it's days where they're feeling up and they're feeling down because they don't understand why is it that now, mind you, our children had their father for a long time. The oldest is 14 years old. So for about 12 years of her life, her father was present. But when he didn't get his way, he decided to run off. Nobody has a number for him. Nobody's heard from him, stuff like that. So then it leaves the child saying, okay, what did I do? So now you're explaining to your children, it's not you, baby. It's not your fault. Don't you take on that. Don't take on that pain. It's not you. Your father, he loves you. So this is what you got to tell your children. So you're not making them, so you're not the bad one, or you're not the one talking bad. Is you're making excuses for them now. Well, your father loves you, but right now he's not in the right mind frame to be who you need him to be. But let's just continue to pray that he'll come around and do what needs to be done. How many times you think a child want to hear something like that? Because in the meantime, when they go to school, or when it's father-daughter dances and stuff like that, and they can't have their father. How many times? You get what I'm saying? So as a parent, now I'm getting pissed because when I see my child hurting, I got to clean up that mess. I got to deal with the attitudes. I got to deal with the heartache and pain of you not being who you need to be to her.
Right. Yeah. You have anything you want to add to that, Syke?
It's wild because for me, I had the experience of, like I said, the father was non-existent, and then my mother wasn't. She was inconsistent for various reasons. So my grandparents basically raised me, and for me, again, it's like, and this is jacked up, but it's like for me looking back and like examining, I was always angry because I just felt like, dang, neither one of my parents wanted me. Basically, like, y'all ain't never like, what's going on? But I feel like I have more anger towards my mom for the inconsistency than I do towards my biological father. Because again, it's almost like, okay, you're not there, you're never there, so we're used to it. But to sit up and to piggyback in and out whenever you feel like it 24/7, and to get people hopes up and to have you forming a bond and then all of a sudden you disappear for 6 months.
Right.
That's, I would have rather you not have been there, quite frankly. And in both situations, it's again, this is for me personally, this is why I am personally pro-abortion, because again, I didn't have to go through all of that. That could have just been, again, and this is also why I'm a big supporter of comprehensive sexual education and people having universal health care, so we can actually get people, birth control, contraceptives, education, and have access to these things. Because it's like, what is the purpose of having a bunch of children that you don't want? Right. So it's just unwanted kids. And then you grow up and you're unwanted because they don't even want to be around you. They don't want nothing to do with you. So you feel that.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier about you felt as if you had more of the anger, resentment towards your mom. I think my therapist, I was talking to someone about it. My therapist was mentioning that how common that is to have or blame, so to speak, the more present parent than the absent parent. Now, let me ask you all this question. a lot of what we see in society with these men, that are toxic, have this hate towards women. Do you all think a lot of that is just misplaced anger that they have for their mother, for their father not being present?
I know for me with
That's deep.
dealing with my ex, his mother and father was absent.
Mm-hmm.
So it was times where I remember I was in an abusive relationship. I was in domestic violence and it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say to him, like, you're taking the anger that you want to take out on your mother, you're taking it out on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he would be so angry. And I remember times where he was like, that's what my mom used to say. That's what my mom used to do. So now I'm like, every time he would strike, it was like, now I'm looking like his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, even with his absence now, it has a lot to do with the absence of his father.
Mm-hmm.
Even though his father may have wanted to be there, the mom was so toxic that the father ran off and just never came back. You get what I'm saying? So it's just all this build up anger, and he can't take it out at the people that really hurt him.
Yes.
So now he's going to take it out on the one
that's threatening
that was loving him at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's very, very common. I think that's a lot of the issues that we see in society with these men, having this hate towards women. At the root of it, I just believe it's just misplaced anger. And that's why I think it's so important for, to seem just about everybody need therapy nowadays. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To really go and dig deep. But at the core of a lot of things, we don't want to go back to our parents. We don't want to deal with that. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people can't move forward. Because they don't want to acknowledge certain things.
And if you don't deal with it, then you end up becoming your parents.
And then you keep
and that I'm trying to
over and over. Yeah.
We are breaking chains, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to, and that's the problem. A lot of the times people just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Even with men and a lack of respect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, like, again, in my opinion, it's because the first person that ever hurt you was a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's and that woman being your mother.
Yeah.
So if you endured hurt and pain from her, you don't give a damn about nobody else.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because you think about that. If the people that's supposed to love and care for you unconditionally are the ones out the gate abusing you, you done already been shown. I always say this from my opinion. When fathers aren't there, you're already directly telling everyone that, these MFers ain't about this. You can't trust them because your own daddy wasn't there for you. Yeah. Then if your mother is sitting up, she's abusing you, she's name calling, she's belittling you, she's putting you down. You're going to also look at that. Oh, well, that's how women are. That's how all women or feminine people are. And again, this stuff starts at home.
It does.
I'm not saying that people can't change and heal and break away from that. But when that's the only, that's your only role model.
Yep. If that's all you know, then you're going to, and then you have some people, because I had family members who around them, they witnessed, toxic things going on, but they didn't turn out like that.
Yeah.
So it's all in your drive too, just because you grew up around it. Because I know for me, I grew up in some things where I was just like, Lord, if you just allow me to see this age, I don't want to be nothing like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You have some people that they don't become a product of their environment because it's the drive that's within them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have those who are not that strong. Everybody is not that strong to say, you know what, my dad wasn't there, but I want to be there for my children. Mm-hmm. Some people are just so broken and don't know which way to turn, and it don't matter the age.
Yeah.
It don't matter. Everybody is not on the same level. So you get some people that it's really sad for them. I don't think men, because this is what we're talking about, toxic fathers, I don't think they wake up in the morning and say, today I want to be toxic. Today I want to be an absent father. It's something that's going on.
With it's subconsciously, right.
It's something deeper. And everybody want to look at the surface, but it's something deeper than that, to where You may have some men that it's not that they don't want to be there. They don't know how to be there. They don't know
Because
how.
what role models do you have?
Yeah.
Like, again, we don't really, and I'm not saying that there aren't, like you said earlier, there are good fathers, there are good men out here that are loving and caring and respectful and providing and what have you. This is true. But overwhelmingly, obviously, if all of us getting on here talking about, so did you have a daddy? Did you have a daddy?
Dad is outweighing the good.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's
like, so that's what gets on my nerves is when people act like people are just making this stuff up. Like, no, this is really happening out here.
Right.
Well, they get like that too because they, everybody throw that thing up. I can't relate. So when they can't relate, it's like the hell with what you're feeling because I can't relate to that topic. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take away from what I'm feeling because you can't relate. But I pray the day never comes where you can relate because it's not a
good because this is painful. Don't nobody want this on nobody.
It's crazy. Now, y'all, we're gonna switch gears just a little bit. Did you all see the video that Kanye made about a week ago in reference to him not being able to attend his daughter's birthday?
No, I didn't see.
Y'all didn't see it?
Oh, Kanye.
Yeah. Let me play that.
He popped up anyway. Yeah. Unfortunately, that was crazy.
So let me play this, and I want y'all thoughts on that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wishing my daughter a public happy birthday. I wasn't allowed to know where her party was. There's nothing legal. They're saying that these are the kind of games that's being played. At the light, it's the kind of thing that really has affected my health for the longest. And I'm just not playing. I'm taking control of my narrative this year. I'm being the father, the best father, the yay version of a father. And I'm not finna let this happen. And we're gonna be in real time. Take a slight right turn onto I-405 right here. North. Chicago, happy birthday. I love you. And I'm just putting this online because I need y'all support. I didn't call Kim, text the nannies. I got on the phone with Tristan. He said, he asked Chloe, won't nobody give me the address to my daughter's birthday party right now? And that's going to imprint in her mind that I wasn't there for her. You get what I'm saying? Like, I was supposed to be in Miami recording my album. My whole schedule is all based around me being able to take my kids to school, me being there for them, making sure that I'm in their life. That's the whole point of having money. They take so many fathers just throughout America. They've been taking the fathers out the homes purposely. So I'm speaking up. I'm using my voice to say, this ain't gonna keep happening. This narrative is not gonna happen. It's a lot of people that's not in a position where they ain't got no voice when people be playing games like this. Baby mamas be playing games. The grandmama be playing games like this. And it's like, as y'all know, they ain't finna play like that with me.
No, yo.
I'm done with the last.
Now listen. Now I like Kanye as far as, I think he's a great rapper and I think he's very intelligent when he speaks at times. However, now of course I don't know what his relationship is like with Kim. We just here speculating. But from what I heard, that of course we know that Kim, it looks like she's moved on, and it seems as if Kanye made some threatening remarks about her new boyfriend. And that's part of the reason why they it was basically agreed upon that they would have two separate birthday parties, is what I'm hearing. But when I was hearing him talk, I was just like, okay, where is the accountability? I feel like he's trying to play victim. I really do. I feel like he's trying to play victim, and I really think that he has more to do with this than not. And I really don't think it happened the way he said it did. Like, what do y'all think about that?
Psych, you go first, because I don't know. I don't even know what to think.
I'm just thinking he's trying to play victim.
I mean,
for me,
it happens, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me, it's just like, I see, because my thing is this. To me, the Kardashians, Kanye, they all give off narcissistic personalities to me and behaviors. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's once again a publicity stunt to keep them in the news. That's what they getting attention. They both are riding in on this. And unfortunately, children are the ones that ultimately are going to be hurt or, being pulled emotionally in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see somebody keeping their father or mother or parent away. But at the same time, if you're sitting up here threatening folks and all this other stuff, who's to say you're not going to come to the birthday party acting a fool?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. And then if y'all agreed to have two separate birthday parties, why are you tripping?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing, and again, I just hate how we're seeing their private life, their private issues in the public. Because to me, it ain't really any of our business, ultimately. It's just not. They having a custody dispute, that's on them. That should be private. It shouldn't even be on social media. But again, we're talking about two people that love attention. So whether it's negative or positive, they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, this is actually a question that I wanted to ask. What do y'all think about this statement? And Kanye actually used it, that welfare is taking men out of the homes. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel like that, yes, there's some systemic issues regarding, racism and classism and what have you, that do make it where men have historically been taken out of the home or removed out of the home. But I also feel like men, we have to take, whether you're a cis man, trans man, if you're a man, we also have to take accountability in the fact that some of us willingly leave the homes, abandon the children, neglect the families, and some of us have made those choices. A lot of us have made those choices. It isn't always, the white supremacy. And don't get me wrong, white supremacy is real, racism is real, but there's a lot of times where that self-accountability piece is missing.
Yeah.
I mean, God, there's people who sit up and they'll be on social media talking about how the other parent is keeping them from the child and how they're on child support. But then in the same breath, you on Snapchat blowing bottles, buying PS5s and everything else, but you can't get your child Huggies. So it's like, what story are we really going to go with? And people expose themselves. Yeah. That's the thing about social media. People expose themselves.
Right. Or if you're on child support, then it's like, oh, well, that's all you're getting.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I'm not giving you nothing else. I give you $100 and some odd dollars or whatever.
We all know it costs more than that.
Yeah. I told my daughter one time, I said, listen, I'm getting ready to put your dad on child support just so he can, that can be towards your little snacks. Because, sis, the way you eat and be up for snacks, like, your little child support can go to that. I don't want the money. I don't want the card. It's all for you. It's for you because, first off, you don't get that much in child support anyway. Mm-hmm. And then when you think about whoever the primary parent is, they're kicking out more than you're receiving in child support.
Yeah.
Let's be real about that.
Right.
Yeah, because you're talking about energy, time, food, all the other, and the, cash
you get
part.
What I'm saying?
Too.
So
a lot more
of the time, I think this whole, it's this topic right here can go so many different ways. And of course, it hits people differently because, the truth hurts. And then it's always, it's trigger points for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So it's going to always be like people and their feelings about topics like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to look at just some of these memes, okay? Some of these, this is the one that kills me on social media. If you need child support, why not give custody to the father since he doesn't need help? But y'all ain't ready for this conversation.
This is what's crazy is a lot of times when you see this mess, it's so many men who have children and don't even have bedrooms for the child. Mm. So exactly where is this kid going to go? I mean, he's staying in a 1-bedroom house and he's had a 1-bedroom house or an apartment for years and the kid is 6. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me in 6 years, you haven't thought to get a 2nd bedroom? Mm-hmm. Strange.
I'm still trying to make this make sense. Like this.
Okay. This is my thing. Okay. Give custody to the father. I don't know. I personally don't know any man who ever went to court to file for joint custody, let alone full custody. Do y'all know anybody who did that?
People don't go to court to file custody of their children until something happens between the parents.
And I think
But
at the end of the
people
day,
fail to realize
don't want them. They don't want the child. Yeah.
What people what people fail to realize is before, when you have a child, the state really like have custody of your child, basically. Like the child is just up for grabs for anybody to come in. And the moment that somebody feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a parent, they can call CPS on you. They can do whatever to get that child removed. Mm-hmm. The only time I hear about people really going and getting custody of their children is when it's some type of battle. Yeah. So now it's the whole tug of war thing. I feel like when you have a baby right then and there, you need to just go ahead and file joint custody. Both parents need to have some type of rights over the child, not when a beef is occurring.
Right.
Like handle that right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, get the paternity test right then and there too.
Right. And then I look at it. Oh, go ahead, Sai. Go ahead.
Oh no, y'all go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but then at the end of the day, people don't go for the child, especially these fathers, because they don't want them.
They don't want the full responsibility of being a parent.
Right. They don't want it. So.
No, I do know. I have a friend. Mm-hmm. So I have to be like the devil's advocate right now. Mm-hmm. I have a friend where he fought. Mm-hmm. This man fought to get custody of his child. Mm-hmm. He wasn't letting nobody step in to take his child. You know, the mother was acting like she didn't want to do or whatever the situation was on that end. And I respect any man that puts up that fight to completely fight for their child, because raising a child is not the easiest thing to do.
Right. No, going through the legal side.
You know, a lot of the times you have people just want that recognition of, oh, this is my child. Mm-hmm. But it's so much that goes into it. Mm-hmm. So even when you're like I feel like even when you're in a couple or as a couple, like a lot of the times, if you don't have both of those hands-on active parents, it's like the mom is doing majority of the work, even with the father being in the home.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-mm.
And that's the unfairness of it. And again, this is why it's like, to me, ultimately, if you have a child, whether y'all are in a committed relationship, monogamous, non-monogamous, whatever, to me, there should be a point of responsibility on each person's side, that ultimately, damn everything else, we're going to make sure this child is taken care of, you know, physically, mentally, you know, holistically, having their needs met, regardless of what we got going on. The child should be number one, but that's not even the case. I mean, you got one person that just don't even care that the child is even here, you know, and you got to be sitting up reminding them it's your weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy.
And I also believe that being a parent shouldn't come, in my personal opinion, I believe that being a parent should not come with gender roles. As a parent, you should learn, if you're a father, you should learn how to.
You should know how to
you should learn provide everything, because there's no guarantee that mother is always going to be around. Like, death is real. So, you know, it's sometimes where a death occur, the mother is on a trip, whatever the case may be. It still should be some type of, like, you're educating yourself to know something more than just that, you know, that's my child. I feel like it shouldn't just be gender roles when it comes to parenting.
Right, you know, it shouldn't.
Agreed. You need to know how to change diapers and cook and clean. And, you know, also get out here, and everybody needs to know how to be able to take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's another thing I want to say. If you have your child for the weekend, because it's your weekend, you are not babysitting your child. That is your child.
You're parenting.
Please stop saying that. I get so sick and tired of that.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Now, you know, we're a little over time. So what I'm going to do now is open up the phone lines, because I think this is just a conversation that can get so deep. And we're going to be talking about, you know, toxic mothers next week. So make sure that you all tune into that. And I'm pretty sure that some of this will carry on into that conversation as well next week. So if there's anyone out there that want to call in And just have anything you want to share, any comment that you want to make on this topic, feel free to do that now. Let me go ahead and open up the phone line. So you should see the number scrolling down below. So if you want to call in, call 213-87-TABOO, 213-87-TABOO. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and go forward. Let me just make sure that the phone line is open. One moment. So we're going to go ahead and go forward, and if someone called, then we'll pause. But y'all, it's just like so much. I have a lot of stuff I want to cover, but we're covering a lot of things like as we go, which is good because y'all are mentioning and covering everything. So I may bring some of this into next week as well. But while we wait to see if someone want to call, you guys, I really want to talk about this briefly. Let me take this off the screen.
And people, don't be afraid to
Hold on one
like
second.
this is an open.
We actually have a caller calling right now, Hasna.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
Thank you for calling Talking Taboo. This is Trista. Who am I speaking with?
How you doing? This is Tony.
Hey, Tony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's your comment or statement that you'll like to make today? Hold on one sec. Can you all hear Tony on your end? Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah. I was listening to what you guys were talking about, and I missed the first part of it, but I understand that there are absent fathers out there, but in my opinion and in my world, that's a myth to me.
Why do you think that?
One, I didn't grow up like that. My father was there in my life in the home with my mother. All of my uncles were there with their kids, even if they weren't with the mother. And all of my friends, all of my male friends that have kids, they're either with their wives, with their girlfriends, and they're in the home with their kids. And I think just because a man may not be in the home, that doesn't make him an absent father. Like currently, I'm not with my kid's mother. We don't live together. She has her own place. I have my own place. But I'm in my kid's life. So, but some would say that I'm an absent father because I'm not in the home with my kids, which I think is wrong to say. The second thing is about the child support thing.
Okay.
Based on what you guys were saying, the notion is that only women are the only ones that go for child support. There are no single fathers out there. All the guys that I know that are single fathers and that do have custody of their kids, they don't get child support from the mother. That's not something men do. So the meme that you put up about, give custody to the kids, it's not that men don't want to take care of their kids. It's not that men don't fight for their kids. Like, I don't understand where people ideas and these numbers from that's the case. There's plenty of men. I know several of my friends that have full custody of their kids, and the mother does not. There's lots of women out here where that their kids were raised by their parents. Or the kids was raised by their parents. Like, that's been going on forever.
Right.
This is very true.
As I said, and I know people base their ideas on their lives and what they see and their friends and what have you. So, and I get it. There are some deadbeat dads out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't personally know any of them because I don't hang around people like that. I'm not one of those people that, if I'm friends with you and we hanging out and I know you're not taking care of your kids, one, we can't be friends. I can't hang with you.
Yeah.
Hey.
All of the male friends that I have, they're either married, I say 90% of them are married, have kids, they're in their kids' lives, and I coach football and basketball, so I coach a lot of these kids, so I know their parents. So I know their dads. I talk to their dads on a regular basis. We talk about our kids. Now, I might be one of the only ones that's no longer with my kids, mother. But that's what that is. And, again, like speaking on the child support thing, I pay child support for my kids. I shouldn't, but I pay child support for my kids. And I feel like a lot of times men that do, the ones that are paying child support are the ones that, in my opinion, should not be paying child support. The ones that aren't paying child support are the ones that should. That goes on far more than people know or think.
Okay. Well, listen, I do appreciate you calling in and sharing your thoughts with us. And I appreciate you watching the show as well and tuning in. So thank you. And you said Tony, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Deanna's my sister.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for calling in, Tony. And thanks for watching.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Bye-bye. All right, y'all. So that was Tony calling in and sharing his opinion and perspective. And I think that it's good to hear that he is surrounded by men that appear to be doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I think that was a breath of fresh air, even though, the show is absent in toxic fathers, but it's good to hear that there are men out there that are trying to do what they need to do, and doing what they need to do for their kids. So.
What I appreciated with Tony was the fact that he also mentioned, I'm not hanging out with dudes that I know that ain't active. And that's the big, and I mean, I salute Tony because that's the same way I am. Yeah. Again, why would I want to be hanging out with a deadbeat? That right there is how you check each other as men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I respect Tony on that,
Yeah.
And there are single fathers, there are fathers that are out here doing everything and then some and going through hell too. I feel like for me, I have my perspective and then my lived experience with dealing with an absent father completely and then an inconsistent mother. My views are like, but it's like, I respect Tony saying that. Like, again, I'm not hanging out with dudes that aren't active or responsible. So I respect that.
But I feel like whether you the mother or the father, if you are absent and you're not doing your part for that child, you have every right to be on child support. Yeah. I don't care if it's the mother. I don't care if it's the father. If you feel as though as a father, and it's sad to say that a lot of the times the fathers don't get the support that they need because it's like, oh, well, you're the father, you figure it out. No, they also need help too to raise these children. But I don't care.
They should be paying child support.
If you're the absent mother and you're not doing your part, then you need to be put on child support, just like the fathers who are absent, and they need to do their part. One thing that I don't want to say I disagree, but I have a difference of opinion because I don't believe that there's a lot of men who don't deserve to be on child support. It goes for me. It goes. It's like one of those tug of war things. You have your fathers who are on child support because of a bitter baby mom. And then you have the fathers on child support who really need to be there. And then they really in arrears because they still choosing not to pay or they not working or whatever their situation is. So, I think that, I just on that area, I know for Tony, it was different because he surrounds himself with men who are good fathers and there. But you have a lot of men who are really not out here doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. And you have a lot of them, they're ducking and dodging. I mean,
so it's like you have some men who will settle for getting a weak-minded woman that's going to take care of them so that they don't have to work and they'd rather hide out and not pay child support. They don't want to go get a job. Oh, I'm a lay it down on shorty real quick so I don't have to go out here and work, and then I don't have to worry about this child support. And then you turn around and they like $30,000 in arrears. How the heck did you get that far in arrears?
I just
what I mean. So it's just like with me,
you can pay $2 with the child support.
It's crazy. It is so crazy, and a lot of times I think, when a lot of these men talk about, well, if you don't want the child, give the father custody. I mean, let's be real. The reason why I think a lot of these men don't go get custody for their child is because a lot of them are in trouble with the law. They got warrants. They're afraid to go down there to file for it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of it still goes back to you. You see what it's just. Y'all, this stuff just turns my stomach. It really does. It turns my stomach. It really does. Like when I think of just the innocent child that's suffering and you don't even care enough to. It's
and I
all
think
about you.
I think what makes the father toxic is because the lack of healing that's taking place.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
if you're not allowing yourself to really, express whatever you're feeling, because the world always tells us that men are not supposed to cry and all this bull crap. Like, no, you are a human being who has feelings. So when you're not going to release those things that have you in bondage, now you're passing it on and you're not able to be who your children need you to be because you are not healed within yourself. So I feel like that's what makes you the toxic father.
Right.
So now with you being toxic is now causing you to be absent because you can't play your role.
Right.
You
It's
can't
like
show up how you need
yeah.
to.
And a lot of them are like children. It's crazy. But y'all, I'm going to close out with this last thing, because I know we did run a little over time. Like I said, this conversation is just, it can go on for days. I'm going to just close out with just this one thing that I really want to get into for this show. Did you all hear the the audio recording with Kirk Franklin and his son that happened about a year ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so and you all are aware of it, so I don't have to play it because, oops, hold on one second. We have another caller. We're going to take this last caller and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Talking Taboo, this is Trista. How may I help you?
Hello, Trista. This is Erica calling. I just wanted to make a couple of comments.
Okay. Can you all hear Erica?
A little bit.
Okay. Can you see if your volume can go up just a little bit more?
Is that better?
Can y'all hear Erica? Okay, yes, that sounds good. Go right ahead, Erica.
So I just want to say this has been a great topic, and I really do think that with the absent fathers and the toxic fathers, it does start in the home when they're young, because, in my family, both of my uncles, are still being coddled by their mothers. And one, he did have a father in the home, but, he's a baby, child support. He's almost 50 years old, and, he hasn't taken care of his first two children. And I don't understand how he's gotten married again. And, I feel like women think that it's going to change.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know what makes them think that they're the one who's going to make them take care of the, this child. So, and it's the same cycle, so now he's 50 years old with a 6-month-old baby now. And it's the same thing, he's still paying child support for the first two. And I just don't understand why women would choose a man who's not taking care of the children they already have. But it happens, and, it's and some others with husbands in the home, they just feel like they want to baby them and up until they're grown, and it just leads to men who are very codependent on their mothers.
Yes, that's good.
And but I commend you all for this show. It's really great. I enjoyed last week. I'm enjoying this week, and I look forward to next week.
Okay, thank you so much, Erica, for calling in with that comment, and we appreciate you watching.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night. All right, you guys. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, right. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
50 years old, still living with mom. Listen,
it's the codependency. And when we talk about these toxic mothers, we really finna go in next week.
Yeah. Next week we're going to be talking about toxic mothers. So, but before I go, let's close out with this Kirk Franklin thing. What was your thoughts on that? We're going to close out with Kirk Franklin. What was your thoughts on that?
I'm with Kirk on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you feel like you can disrespect me, and I done been holding you down, because everybody want to go based off of what that little clip of recording. And of course, when you're in the situation, it's deeper than the little clip that was exposed.
Right.
So for those who've been following, like, he had been going through a lot of stuff with that particular child. So sometimes, I don't know, like, I don't care about the religious part of Kirk and all of that. At that moment, he was a human being, and the child was disrespecting him, a child that he has raised, a child that he has put forth so much. And he went in. He went in like, listen, I don't know. I might be some backlash might hit me for it, but I'm
opinion,
listen, he said, and I'm sure if the child was in his face at the time, he probably would have did some things. Not that that's the healthy way, but at the same time, it's like don't think you're going to disrespect me after all I have put up with and I'm doing to make sure you're better. But when you don't get your way, then it's like you want to expose me for being. You know how many kids get cursed at on a regular? It was like, oh, it was Kirk, and he's a child of God, so he should have held himself better. And no, disrespect is disrespect.
Yeah, well, you know how I look at it different because, like, the background of what we're just speculating. We weren't there. We just kind of, I'm going by what I heard. The background is that that son, they had him when they were younger, like teenagers or something like that. And he has other kids as well. And what it seems as if, I think there was like some conflict between like how the children was treated. And me feeling like I'm an expert now on dysfunctional families. I just, I've lived it. Feeling like I'm an expert on dysfunctional families. I personally believe that Kirk Franklin is a toxic father. I think his whole family is dysfunctional. I just really believe that.
And that's very much possible.
And I think that because, first of all, you having a child when you're young, I mean, let's be real. That you can't give that child too much. You having this child in your teens. I mean, let's be honest. So I do believe that, and a lot of times being that first child, you get the brunt of a lot of your parents' immaturity as well, because, they had you when they were so young. But what I believe they said happened was the son started kind of complaining about it online, and Kirk was basically calling him and telling him he was being disrespectful for basically exposing it or something to that effect. And he was basically, calling him disrespectful because of that. Now, for me,
you messing up the perfect image.
Right. And for me, I just think it's more of he was exposing him for who he really was, and I do believe that the son has went through hell with him. I really do believe that, and I know how these families can be when you have children that won't fall in line, especially with them being in the image and these church people. I know how they can be. When you're not falling in line and you're not being who they want you to be and living up to their expectation and keeping up the family image, I believe that this son has been scapegoated just about all his life because he won't fall in line. And I believe that with him, doing what he did, it really did ruffle some things up, and it freaked Kirk out because, okay, I'm about to get exposed now. So I do believe that regardless of, what he did or how he felt, I do believe that this is not the first time that has happened. That's who he is.
No,
I don't believe it's just something that happened. And I believe that, if it was the child on the other hand that did that to his father, then we would have had so much more to say. Because for me, seeing what everybody was writing, it's like everybody was coming into Kirk's defense, like, oh, he's trying to expose his father, this, that, and the other. People expose their children every day on Facebook. Nobody bats an eye. But when his son, wanted to do whatever he did, it's a problem. So I just believe that Kirk is toxic. I don't want to go too far in the narcissistic realm, but I just never felt he was genuine, in my opinion. I just felt like there was always something lurking behind what we weren't seeing. And yes, you can be human, but I just think that Kirk is just not who he portrays himself to be. That's just my opinion.
Right. It's a lot of people like that, especially in this day and age. I mean, like what you said earlier with people, like social media, I feel like plays a big role. Social media, and then also reality TV and always being on camera, people are selling an image at all times. And a lot of this stuff is fake. This is not who they really are.
And that's the thing, like, even from the whole thing with Kirk, like, again, none of us was there, so we're all going to have our opinion on it. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, but to witness so many, you have kids who, no matter what you give them at times, or no matter what you do for them, they still find a way to be ungrateful, disrespectful. Like it happens. So it's like, it's times where, the hell with being exposed. Like, why do we even have to bring it to the internet for one? But since we're here, like, let's talk about it. You get what I'm saying? If this is what we're gonna do, let's air it out. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't make it healthy, but it is what it is at this point. So I'm with Trista on that, like with the whole, overall is a whole toxic situation. But to be like, exactly how firm I stand, I'm not there. I don't know what,
Yeah. We're just.
But I definitely like the pointers that you made. They were good pointers because it's true.
Yeah. Well, you all, thank you so much for another great show. Thank you all so much. And we went a little over time, but we did start a little bit later, but
we did. It's all good.
It was a lot to expect. And for those of you watching, I thank you all for tuning in and just being here with us. For those of you who called in, make sure that you check us out on next week. We have another excellent show on toxic mothers, and you can watch that on our YouTube or Facebook page. Just make sure you follow us as well and like and subscribe so you can get those notifications. And y'all, I want to just leave y'all with just a little tidbit, little something I wrote up. Activity follows identity. It's time that you stop playing the script that you've been given and start becoming the author of your own life. Only you have the power to change your narrative. It's time that you rewrite your story. Until next time.